Keeping your business healthy in today's marketplace can be a challenging and overwhelming task. From the threat of litigation inside and outside your organization and the inefficiencies that can rob your bottom line as a result of unproven marketing programs, the deck can be stacked against you. To get ahead of these challenges and stay ahead of your competition, the Bottled Business Sense Show provides practical business solutions that uniquely emphasize key legal principles, management techniques, and marketing strategies to protect and ensure the longevity of your business. You'll learn how to implement marketing and protection principles equal to those used by today's most successful corporations. Join your host, Bill Bernard, Rick Moscoso, and Steve Smith for some high-energy discussion that will inspire you to take control of your business so it can prosper in today's consistently challenging business environment.
Well, good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday at 10 a.m. I'm Rick Moscoso here on the Bottled Business Sense Show. Welcome, everybody, to our show this morning. Welcome to our returning viewers. And if you happen to be new out there, welcome. We look forward to sharing some information with you in regards to small business. We typically speak about marketing and best practices, as well as legal tips on how to efficiently run your business. We are on social media, on Facebook, Google+, Twitter, at Bottled Business Sense Show. And reach out to us if you are interested in either being a guest on the show or just want to contribute some topics that you'd love to hear about. You can always email us at bottledbusinesssenseshow@gmail.com. So with that being said, on the other side here, joining me today is my co-host, Mr. Bill Bernard. How are you doing today, Bill?
I'm doing great, Rick. Good to be back with everybody today for another great show. We've got something I think that's going to be very interesting for everybody. And I know we're into the springtime now, and the weather's getting nicer, and it's getting tougher to do these shows indoors. But we're dedicated to our listeners, and we always enjoy doing it. And I'm glad we can be back this week for another show. You know, we've got something interesting today to talk about. We've talked about a number of times different ways to approach content marketing on the show. I know Steve's talked about it, our other co-host. I know you've talked about it, but I don't think we've put the final touches on it, and that is what the legal ramifications are in terms of outsourcing content and how you got to go about doing it so you can cover the bases. So today our show is called Outsourcing Content, the Required Legal Steps. And we're going to talk a little bit about some things that you and I both know something about. And hopefully we can give our viewers and listeners a little bit of information that will help them safely move through the internet world, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, as business owners, as we get busier and busier, and with our, not so much with our day-to-day stuff, but managing relationships, finding new business, growing our business, there still has that need to market ourselves and outsource our activity. I know you're very active with your business, whether it's doing your monthly newsletter, blog posts, updating all that stuff, and getting your email marketing out on a timely basis. For the busy business owner, boy, we have to look to getting help and outsourcing our stuff. But more importantly, I guess you also have to be considerate of what are our legal considerations that we have to think about, whether we're creating the content ourselves or repurposing somebody else's content for our own purposes.
Yeah, absolutely, Rick. And I tend to do all my own stuff. I do a lot of it on the weekends. That's because I'm anal and I like to have control over what I'm doing. But I understand that there's other business owners that perhaps are a little more reasonable in that regard, and they get to the point where they maybe don't enjoy it as much, but they know it's a necessity. They want to outsource it. And so there are some ramifications for doing that, but if you do it safely, you're going to be on top of your game. So we're starting out by saying we presume then that you want to hire some really good content creators. And, you out of anybody would know more about this, Rick, because we're talking about blog posts, social media. There's all kinds of different ways to formulate content, and so understanding that that's what you want to do. You've gotten to the point in your business now where you're going to assign somebody to create content for you. There's really a couple of different ways to do it, in my view. One is to have somebody take content that you've written or that you do write periodically and then turn over to them and repurpose it, or give somebody bullet points, or have somebody become so familiar with your business that they understand exactly what you want, and then have them create the content. That of course, in my view, requires a great deal more trust. Not to say that can't be reached, but it requires really good, really trust in that person's abilities. And then there's even a third way to do it, where you take other people's content with their permission and repurpose it, refashion it. And so one of the things you have to look at is whether or not a copyright can be assigned. So unless you specifically list the terms of use in your contract, the content creator will maintain ownership of the content. So let's talk about that a little bit. You create content, you give it to the content creator, the outsourcing person. That person could become the owner of that content unless you have in your contract that it still is your information, it's still your material. And in order to do that, you may want to copyright it. Otherwise, you can give express permission to somebody to repurpose the content. And if you do that, you're basically saying, hey, you can take my stuff and repurpose it, refashion it, or publish it on my behalf, but it's not yours. And so accordingly, that needs to be in the contract. And we're going to get to this, but this whole discussion, of course, assumes you have a contract with the content creator. You better do that. I mean, let's face it, we're talking legal stuff here, and you know me, any lawyer for that matter, if you're going to do something legally, put it in writing. Also, indemnification. Be clear in the contract that there's going to be indemnification. So if this content creator does something crazy like taking other people's stuff without their permission, he could be sued. You could be sued. You want to make sure that there's indemnification by the content creator to you, so that if anything is done on your behalf and he's sued, he or she, you're going to ask for indemnification from that content creator. Now, how do we know all this? Well, we know this because the whole purpose of the content creator is to create outsourcing material that is going to appear on your site, right? On your blog posts, on your social media. So that's how the person, the originator of this content, is going to know that it's being used by you and it was taken from that person by this content creator. The content creator is then sued by the third party. You want indemnification from the content creator. In order to get that, it better be in your contract with the content creator.
Okay. So folks, just to make it clear, we're specifically talking about the legal steps that you need to take before you outsource content to someone that you have an agreement with or a contract with. Not so much the original source content that you're speaking about. That's a whole nother issue, but it's the second party that you've hired, right? That we're talking about here.
Yeah, you're hiring an independent third party who's going to be an independent contractor working for you, but that content creator may choose to take other people's content out there on the web and use it and repurpose it under your name, under your social media sites, under your website. You have to be very careful about that, and you need to cover the bases on that in the contract. But, ideally, you want a content creator who, as I said at the top of the show, is either going to create content on his or her own knowing what you want and what you want to publish, or you're going to give that person content to repurpose, either to refashion in some way, or just simply to go into your back office or your library or wherever you keep this content and take it and post it for you. In that specific scenario, that person is just there to do one thing and one thing only, and that's to save you time. And there's nothing wrong with that, but there's a difference between a content creator who's actually creating content on your behalf versus a content creator who's just basically creating content on a social media site or your website that has already, if you will, been created by you. And I hope everybody understands that distinction. Next, I want to talk a little bit about freelancers' expectations, including benchmarking and measuring success or failure. You may want to, as a freelancer, as a content creator, you may be asked by the person who's hired you to measure performance levels. In other words, how much of this content is actually being responded to by somebody in a positive fashion. And if so, there may be guidelines that you want to insert in your contract to make it a service level contract or a service level agreement, meaning that that content creator gets more money for the responses that are obtained based on the content they create, and then undertaking the additional assignment of measuring that content and finding out what the responses are, positive or negative, from people who read it. And you know about that, Rick, right? There's a dozen different ways, right, to measure content.
Oh yeah, there's all kinds, and depending upon how you get that content out there, whether it's excuse me, whether it's on your website or your email marketing campaigns, there's all kinds of ways to look at that and see if it's effective. And I guess it's the responsibility of this person that you're outsourcing to be able to take a look at those analytics and respond back to yourself, and then it would be up to you to either with their help or without their help, but basically up to you on what's the next step in your marketing campaign to take the next step based on those results, right? Yeah,
exactly. And this service level contract is a way to insert in the contract some performance initiatives that would give this creator an incentive to create better content, the best content, because don't forget, there's another little hitch here. If you're going to oversee and review everything that this guy creates, he or she creates, then you're just investing more time into what you wanted this person to take off your shoulders in the first place, right? Yeah. So, if you're going to hire an outsourcing individual, you're hopeful that this individual is going to create content that is worthy of being put under your name. Now, of course, the way you do that is you get references, you hire somebody who you think is good, and then you check them. You're going to have to invest some time in it at the beginning to build a level of trust. Unless you've had a business relationship with this person in the past, you know this person and you have the trust already, then it kind of frees you up from the beginning. The other thing you need to consider is your legal liabilities in providing content. In other words, does the type of content that you're posting require a disclaimer? Well, I'm the perfect example, right? At the end of this show, you will see a disclaimer from WFB Legal Consulting Incorporated that this is provided to you for educational purposes. It's not provided to you for any specific legal device, because I can't possibly fathom what each individual's issue might be. I don't have an attorney-client relationship with that individual. So if you're posting information, medical information or financial advice that you're providing, you better have a disclaimer in there that indicates that there are certain factors that may change this advice, and or that you are not the personal financial advisor or physician to whoever's reading this, and so therefore the information is being provided for educational purposes, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and I know I have clients myself that are in the financial industry, and it's unless they're independent, it's very, very difficult through compliance to do things like what we're doing here, just giving educational information, because they're so heavily regulated by compliance that they're either afraid to, or it's too much work to make the effort to even send out goodwill information like this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a burden for some people, but if you know how to do it and you cover the bases, you can help somebody and protect yourself at the same time. Now, also what's important in this service contract is to make sure you have some basis for termination, because as conditions occur, the customer, well, not the customer, but the independent contractor may want to exit the outsourcing relationship, or you may want to terminate the relationship yourself. So you need to have a termination clause that sets forth the rights of your company to exit the agreement and the situation under which the outsourcing creator can exit the situation. And it may simply be something like this. Upon 15 days written notice from one party to the other at the address listed within the contract. If you want to make it that broad, fine. It may be that you want to put specific conditions on it, depending upon how much money you may be paying this individual and how long the term of the contract is set out for. That depends on how well you know the individual, right? Because the term of the contract and the amount of money you're going to pay this person can be something from a fairly minuscule amount to a large amount of money, depending on how much you trust the person and depending upon how much work or what kind of work you want this person to do on your behalf. So that's very, very, very important. And I think it's worth mentioning at this point, make sure you have, we've been talking about this, but we've been dancing around it. Make sure you have a written contract. Don't do any of this orally. It's just not worth it. And finally, it wouldn't hurt to take out an insurance policy. There are now, with the rise of the internet some years ago, there are now insurance companies that provide marketing insurance. So you can cover yourself for any type of, typically a negligent act, whereby you take something unwittingly, or you take something that you contend is not someone else's, and you revamp it, or you revise it, or you just don't think it's the same. There is insurance you can buy, and there are different companies now, Rick, that are taking part in this. I think one is State Farm. There's another one called the Murray Group, Murray, and another group called Oscar, Oscar. But I think typically more and more companies are starting to do this. So it wouldn't hurt to basically take out an insurance to protect your business. Remember, insurance policies protect your business assets, your business entity, which I, again, come back and say you should have, protects your personal assets. Yep. Okay? So you have your business entity. They can't get to your car, your house, whatever, as long as you keep your entity intact. And the insurance policy relegates the claim that somebody may make to whatever the business owns. Okay.
Now, wouldn't this be something like a commercial insurance guy would have a handle on something like this, right?
He could. Yeah. And that's why the Murray Group, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I can't attest to this 100%, but I think they're brokerage. You probably want to touch base with a brokerage, because to find out what company can give you the best deal for what you're doing. Yes, since more and more companies are going to be getting into this and have gotten into it, then yeah, you're going to want to find the right price. But certainly, if you already have an insurance company, does no harm at all to check with them and say, hey, by the way, do you have marketing insurance coverage?
Yep. And folks, if you're interested in a good local resource, we have a network of people that can help. Well, one in particular that can help provide this information should you be in need of some kind of commercial insurance that would extend coverage to your marketing plan. Yeah,
there's always a network here that we provide. not only a network of business people that are in a lot of different fields, but also I provide a network of lawyers. If you need a lawyer in a particular field I don't practice in, for example, God forbid, if you need a family lawyer, I could certainly refer you to one. If you need a patent lawyer, I can certainly refer you to one. If you need a personal injury lawyer, I can certainly refer you to one. So we try to provide a lot of stuff on this show that go beyond just the educational purposes of the show, but allow you to have some level of trust and a place you can turn to where you can get some information from us.
Yeah.
So,
hey, Bill, I have a quick comment and a
sure
question. So, as business owners out there, and we're looking to outsource, offload some of this marketing stuff to somebody else. If we don't have, and quite frequently, a lot of people may not have the expertise or access to somebody that they know that has the expertise to help outsource some of the ongoing outbound marketing. Frequently, they'll look at third-party companies like Odesk or Elance, where they can hire either per project or something like that to do these jobs. Now, I don't know if you have any experience with them, but I'm assuming that in their agreement they have outlines of where who owns the content, even though you're hiring them to do the work, right? Different things like that. Is there something specific that our viewers, should they go down this road and hire somebody like this? Is there something or a question that they should be asking or making clear that they are protected as we've been discussing today?
Yeah, I would think they would want to cover all the points that we discussed today. Make sure they have an insurance policy, make sure that they have a termination clause, make sure that that there's specific requirements in the contract that need to be met, Rick. Make sure that there's an indemnity provision and a copyright assignment provision if necessary. All of these major companies should have that, but I would say this, invest a few bucks. It doesn't cost very much. Invest a few bucks and have an attorney review it. Because one of the things I talk about, what we're talking about on the show today in my April newsletter, and I indicate in there, consult an attorney and look over this agreement, because if you don't understand it or if you have any questions, the attorney's not only going to review the agreement, make sure it's safe for you, but answer any questions that you may have as well. No good, competent lawyer that I know of will do only one and not the other. So if you have any of these questions and you're going to go ahead and use these companies, make sure you consult with a lawyer and that you understand the contract you're signing. I prefer, frankly, not to deal with those companies, not because of an issue with quality or anything of that nature, Rick, but rather I would prefer, if it was me, because I know a couple of people who are doing this, I would prefer to do it with these other individuals that I know are doing, and that is have somebody local that you can touch, feel, and see, that you can maybe have a meeting with or communicate with. I would want somebody who's local in my vicinity, and that's just the way I am, because I like to maintain some level of control over things, and there are plenty of them out there, believe me. And if you have any issues trying to find one of those, contact us, and I'm happy to help you to do that.
Yeah, I'm of the same mindset, because in the past I have used outsourcing companies like this, but typically they're overseas. They'll do exactly what you tell them to do, but without the creativity maybe of somebody who's knowledgeable on how to do this in your local area. Right? So just make sure you consider that if you are looking at these third-party companies. I'm like you. I'm more comfortable doing it with somebody that I know, trust, have a relationship with, and feel comfortable, assigning that project to them with a lot of confidence.
Absolutely. And, trust is not an easy thing to find, but it builds up over time. And I think it's a lot easier to build up where you have somebody who you can speak directly to and know and get to meet than it does online. Well, I know we've got a kind of a unique, we've got a real benchmark coming up here next week, right?
Yeah, we do. This is actually episode number 99 that we've done here on the Bottled Business Sense show. So the next time we see you folks, we will be broadcasting together for our 100th show. So I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be coming up next week. This has been, it's amazing that we've done 100 episodes already. It just doesn't feel like it's been that long, but yep. We have a whole stable of resources for those of you who are new to the Bottled Business Sense show. Go to our website at bottledbusinesssenseshow.com, and you can see all of our past episodes. And I'm sure there's something there for everyone to learn from, both from a marketing and legal perspective. So I'm really looking forward to doing this next show with you, Bill. And it's been a while since you and I have been in the studio together. So this will be a treat.
I'm looking forward to it as well, Rick, and I enjoy the fact that we've had such a long relationship together. And, it's from time to time, I do want to also tell the folks out there that sometimes we will begin to rebroadcast some shows rather than redo them. Some of them have some really important content. And from time to time, when our schedules get busy, we will rebroadcast the program. And when you listen to it, if you hear dates that may be talked about or upcoming events that may be discussed during those episodes, if they are at all, you may think, what are these guys? They're a little bit senile because none of this is happening. It's not Easter. It's not Christmas. It's not whatever. So just realize that we will be that in that scenario, it'll be a rebroadcast, but it's a beneficial one because we feel the content is important enough to be able to get it out to people who maybe haven't seen it or heard it the first time it was broadcast.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, this has been a great episode today, Bill. Hopefully our viewers and listeners out there have learned a little bit more about how to protect their business and go about it in a safe and competent way. But should you have any questions in regards to the legal ramifications that you should consider when you're outsourcing your content marketing or your content creation, please reach out to Bill. He's a wealth of resources. He has a monthly newsletter that he sends out, and if you go to his website, you can certainly subscribe to that. There's a valuable resource of information there. But more importantly, Bill, how does somebody reach out to you directly to start up a discussion should they have any questions?
Well, of course, the company is WFB Legal Consulting, and it's at wfblegalconsulting.com. And of course, you can reach me by email, bill@wfblegalconsulting.com. Phone numbers are both 949 area code 413-6535 and 698-6222. And the Bottle Business Sense show has a sister site which was actually developed before the Bottle Business Sense show, and that's the bottlebusinesssense.com. And that's where you can go to find the newsletter. BottleBusinessSenseShow.com is our show, of course. BottleBusinessSense.com is the newsletter, and you can find a wealth of information there about a number of business topics in the areas of estate planning, employment law, and of course asset protection. So feel free to look at that site at your leisure and pick out something you're interested in and take a gander at it.
All right. Well, folks, it was great having you here again today. On behalf of my co-host, Bill Bernard with WFB Legal Consulting, Inc., we will see you all next week. I'm Rick Moscoso, your co-host with Captivate365.com. So, Bill, thanks again. We're looking forward to seeing everyone on our 100th episode next week.
Looking forward to it, Rick. Take care, everybody.